Hey everybody, welcome back to Tommy's Tesla Tech and Travel. Hey, we're starting off with some Tesla stuff, charging the car. But that's not all we're doing today. We are finally ready for Tucson Comic-Con. It's going on this weekend. I'm gonna miss Saturday, unfortunately, because I have to work. So I gotta be there, I gotta take care of some stuff. There was just no way around it, unfortunately. But I only worked a couple hours today on Friday, so I can go enjoy it for the rest of the evening. It's from 3 to 8 tonight. I'm gonna hang out with some of my friends' booths, go by and say hi to everybody. I just don't know how much shopping I'm actually going to do at this one, since we just closed on the house and we just getting ready to sell our other two houses. Money is tight right now, y'all. But you know, we're going to do some stuff this morning. We're going to run some errands. We're going to try and figure out some moving stuff, but that's the boring stuff. We're going to skip that, or maybe show a little, who knows. The big thing this weekend is comic books and Comic-Conning. Let's go. I brought the muscles today. You ready, Charlie? Let's get started. Charlie, you're an excellent moving buddy. Thank you. Now that we're done moving stuff to the storage unit and I showed Charlie the new house, it's time to go to Tucson Comic-Con. It is that time of year. Let's go get our comic book nerd on and see what kind of books we can find. So I remember my mount, I remember all my extra batteries and memory cards and everything, and what do I forget? The actual camera. So I'm gonna be shooting on my phone today. Sorry guys. The new DoubleTree they built here by the convention center has electric vehicle charging. Good to know. It's great to be back at the show. It's weird not being a vendor. Normally, like, we're here showing. In fact, we started our comic 11 years ago at this very show. It was our first time having it out there. But we're just here as a fan and looking at some comics and catching up with some of our friends. In fact, let's go start that right now. All right, we're here. Look at these artists. Everybody hard at work, drawing the best turtle there is. Make sure you check out Evil Robo. And me, I wrote that. He drew that. I wrote that. He drew that. I wrote, he drew again. Still the same book.
It's still the same book.
There you go. First pickup of the show. Like I said, make sure you check out ERP, Evil Robo Productions. If you don't, you suck. Look at that. It's Raph. I love Raph. Hey, it's our friend Eric and his booth. Oh, how I've missed this. Sorry about the lack of footage. It was the first night, technically preview night. I forgot my real camera, and I was just catching up with all my friends and all of the great people here at the show. More coming up here in just a second. Let's talk about our first day haul here in a minute. But before we talk about the haul, let's talk about a couple things that are different this year at Tucson Comic-Con. Well, last year as well. I have a certain bag I like to personally use when I go to any of these comic book conventions. And unfortunately, that's not really an option anymore with Tucson Comic-Con. Because, and this is more the convention center than the comic convention, but you have to take a clear bag now. The reason I'm not a huge fan of this, and I get why they make you do it so they can see what's in there. It's easier for security purposes and everything that's been going on in our country this last few years. I get it, but it's still annoying. Like, you see I'm wearing a different shirt than I was a couple hours ago because this doesn't breathe. So your boy sweated like crazy back there. The back. Don't make it weird. So I'm not a huge fan of that, but, and we also have to wear bracelets now instead of like the, oh, there it is. Woo, almost had a panic attack. Instead of the lanyards. I'm always a big fan of the lanyards. I have like a whole collection of lanyards and conventions over the year that are sitting on my wall. And forget the background, normally we have our cool colors and everything, but we're in the process of moving, as y'all learned. But let's talk about the things I picked up today at the show. It was just there for about maybe an hour and a half, 2 hours. And it was mostly just catching up with my friends, walking by and saying hi to everybody. But as you already saw, you see the editing stuff in the background. This awesome Raphael that my friend Eric was drawing when I walked up, and he knew that Raphael is my favorite, so I ended up leaving with it. I love this. ES23, my boy Eric Schock. I add this to my pile of Eric Schock artwork. I pretty much probably have a sketch from every Tucson Comic-Con he's ever done. And he was actually not a founder, but he was the guy that did the original artwork for the convention when they started it so many years ago. But here's what y'all want to see, the pickups today. Nothing too insanely crazy in the pickups. I only picked up 2 books today. And I got a really good, well, technically I got 3, but we'll discuss that in a minute. The first pickup was not a book I necessarily needed, but a book I wanted. As all of you know, I am a huge Ninja Turtle collector, and one of the few books I don't have from the early Mirage days is the individual micro series books. I have the Leonardo, I have the Raphael, as you've seen, that's autographed by Kevin Eastman and Peter Laird, and I have the Donatello, but I never had the Michelangelo. I did pick up this copy. It's a Michelangelo one-shot, but it's the Christmas special. I actually had never really seen this out in the wild before. I had it listed for 25, but Jake Justice over there gave me a good deal on it. And he's actually gonna bring some Turtles books on Sunday that I need that I don't have either. So looking forward to that. Good little fun pickup to my Ninja Turtle collection. This next book I picked up because it's a book I've kind of wanted in my collection for a while. I'm not the biggest Spider-Man collector, but there's definitely some key issues that I've always wanted and that I really dig. This one I actually dug the cover. And I've never really seen it below $300, $400, especially if it has that sticker inside. But what I picked up here was Amazing Spider-Man 238, first appearance of the Hobgoblin. And I've always just loved this cover. I mean, it's your classic Romita cover where he's just tearing Spider-Man in half. And you can spot this book from a mile away and know exactly what it is. And I actually picked it up for $90, and I think it was well worth that price. And if you flip through it, it's white to off-white pages. But the condition, I mean, there's like no collar break that I see at all. I think it's an excellent pickup. The only concern I originally had is that it was going to be trimmed, but now that I've looked at it closer, I don't think it's trimmed. And looking at it too, it is a newsstand edition, which that's becoming more and more popular. The difference between a newsstand edition and a regular one, like a direct edition, a direct from this time, let's have like a picture here, like of Captain America or something like that. This is something that they ship directly to you. The newsstands are harder to find because sometimes if a book didn't sell, in order to get your money back or return, you had to destroy it, or if you send it back, they just destroyed it, and these get shipped, they get picked up, flipped through, dinged around. So finding a newsstand edition in high grade is really hard, and people covet that more than just a regular direct edition. Me personally, I don't care. I just want the book in my collection that I've always wanted, and this one's awesome. And the book that I don't have that I also picked up, I was walking through, and since I have friends there that are vendors and they sell books, I'll keep my eye out for good deals or good sells. And I'm like to think a fairly good negotiator when it comes to these things. So I see a Justice League New 52 number 12, that famous Superman and Wonder Woman iconic cover. And this one's CGC'd, and it's CGC Signature Series certified with Jim Lee and David Finch. And they were only asking $75, which that book alone without the autographs is probably $75 to $100. So I quickly picked it up. And I know it would do well at one of my friends like booths there, so I basically sold it back to him for what I paid for it to see if he can get something more out of it. Fantastic book. I mean, you saw the picture I posted right here in the corner. It's one of those, if he didn't want it, definitely would have kept it myself. All right, guys, well, that's it for right now. Let's go to the next day at the convention right now. And we're back for our second day. Well, my second day, their first day, but actually the third day of Tucson Comic Con because I had to work yesterday, but more importantly, we were both sick as dogs. So we had to skip a day. But we're here, and let's make up for lost time. Don't tell her I brought all the credit cards.
Oh, God.
What I really like about having the second entrance opening back here on the other side of the convention is we get to avoid all that crowd to get into the actual convention floor. You guys ready to go get our nerd on? Legos! So this part of going into the convention always kind of reminds me of going to Disneyland. It's like right now, we are adults. Give it about 10 seconds. And we're 13 years old again. Now let's go look at comics and stuff. Yeah! And be honest with me, when we come to these places, you always get scared, right? I'm assuming because I'm an adult with adult income, and there's stuff I couldn't buy as kids in here.
A little bit. A little bit.
Oh, there's Legos. I've lost them at this point.
Good morning.
And we lost them. You know, it must be really nice to be raised around comic conventions like my kids. Every time we come, I come in and spend all my hard-earned dollars. Every booth they go to, they just get everything for free. Everyone's like, hey, Henry, hey, Charlie, here's some stickers, here's some books, here's some drawings, here's some sketches. I'm like, hey, how much are you asking for that? 5 times original price for you. Henry, who are you gonna call? That's right. The cool part is in addition to everything comic book related, it's everything pop culture, original artwork, things for the kids where you can pose and take pictures. It's just fun for the whole family, and that's what I love about these comic book conventions. We got through about 20 minutes before our first meltdown. One thing to do at this convention, and most conventions now too, is there's food trucks in tow. So come in, find what you want to eat, line up, and pay ungodly prices. But you know what? The food's worth it. It's delicious. The thing that's making me really sad about this convention is basically there's nothing really comic book left.
No.
There's 5 stands that are even selling comics, but yeah, the comic book convention's not really comic book centric anymore, which is fine. This is great pop culture, seeing everybody doing what they love, but at the same time,
It's
it
not
makes
the same.
it makes me sad as a comic book collector. I'm here to shop for comics, and yeah, it happens. And that's it for Tucson Comic Con 2023. I'm sorry we didn't get a whole lot of footage while we were there. We were only there for like an hour and a half, to be completely fair and transparent. We had to leave early because unfortunately one of our children, a 3-year-old, wasn't cooperating and just making a complete scene. And I'm talking about he stood out in a room full of people dressed as like Psylocke from X-Men. So I mean, he was doing a lot to be the standout person there, not in a good way. Plus, there wasn't a lot of comic book shopping to be done. There's like 5 booths total, and I went in there with the intent this year to actually shop and trade and, you know, really have a comic book experience. With everything that's been going on, this was going to be like my light at the end of the tunnel before everything goes crazy. Unfortunately, it didn't turn out that way. And the convention itself, I love it. It's my home show. In fact, the question I got from most everyone I saw that worked at the convention or that is, where are you tabling? What book do you have out this year? Unfortunately, it just didn't work out that way. So we left, we came home early, and we're going to show you our final haul from the final day, which wasn't really a haul per se. That's why I probably should have brought my kids with me on preview night. You know, as an adult, I have to pay for everything. My kids go up to the table to people they know because they grew up around the comic book convention, since I am a comic book writer, I guess of sorts. It depends on who you ask. People were like, hey, Henry, hey, Charlie, here's this, here's this, here's this. I'm like, that must be nice. But let's start off here. First thing is from our friend Michael Steimel. If you haven't checked him out, Art of Steimel on Instagram and everything else, he had this really cool Spider-Man sticker he drew that he gave to the boys, gave them each one. And then my wife's a huge Disney princess fan, and she has all the stickers except for his new ones. So we picked these up too. These ones I did buy. It's his regular one and a really cool like graphic one. You can
it's
see
like
it shimmer.
holographic, and there's stuff that pops up underneath when you turn it. So
Yeah, really cool stuff.
yeah.
And then we went to our friend Eric Schock's booth. Him and his wife Brianna had theirs. She's at Powders and Palettes. Check out her blog. So used to YouTubing now, I say vlog. And he's one of my favorite artists on the planet, one of my favorite people. He's one of my best friends. And if you check this out, he gave my boys original sketches and drawings he did, because Charlie loves cars. So he had this one. And then Henry's a huge Transformer fan, and Eric is also a huge Transformer fan. So he got Henry this one with Optimus Prime and Megatron fighting. He even quizzed Henry. Henry's like, that Megatron, that Optimus Prime. So yeah, get those framed for him. We're probably going to wait for the new house, though. And last thing I picked up was, I'm an Ninja Turtles fan, and someone I know named Henry Barajas wrote them. And he was one of the guests of the show this year, so I stopped by and we caught up. And I got those books as well to add to my Turtles collection, because, you know, I am a Turtles completist. But all in all, I mean, it was a nice getaway. I do love the show. It's my hometown show, and I can't wait to do it next year. Next year, I'm hopefully going to have a table again. Because right now, Caleb Warner and myself are working on a new book. We write Brief History in Time, a book for all ages. And I'm sure we have some other projects that are going to happen too. Because for the first time in a couple years, I really felt that inspiration. But I also wanted to ask you, as a mom, as someone who's not really into this culture other than you married into it, how do you feel about going to these conventions every year?
I like going to look at all the artwork, just because I like looking at art, and but I feel like this year it was more crafty than art.
Well, and I think that's
no,
fair.
not knocking crafts. Like, I love crafts.
Yeah, you're crafty.
I'm crafty. But I like looking at the art aspect, especially the different interpretations of the different characters and original art, and I just felt like there wasn't a lot this year.
And I think the downside is now that we have taken kids with us, we can't really look at her, mostly saying, no.
Yeah.
I had to say the words, stop crawling underneath the table more times than I cared to count today.
Although upside, they have added a quiet room,
Which is really smart and really cool.
which is actually really nice because it's away from the convention. It was actually ran by the Children's Museum in Oro Valley this year.
Oh, that's cool. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
And I ran to one of our friends. We found out one of our friends was actually working in the quiet room this year. We just didn't make it there because I ran to his husband and told me he was working there.
But it was really nice. They had like a separate like nursing area, a changing table, and then
to keep y'all occupied while we go and waste all of our life savings on pieces of paper with color.
they had some really cool like beanbag type chairs that the kids really liked, and they had some tiles that the kids could like jump and step on that had colored liquid in it, so when they stepped on it, it would change colors. And
Cool.
they had,
I figured Charlie probably had a blast on that.
yeah, he really enjoyed those.
I know that child.
But it was a nice break for the kids, for myself, because I tend to get a little overwhelmed in crowds just a little bit.
It can be. Like, someone like me, I feel more comfortable in crowds, which I know you've always thought was weird. Like, I like being just a face in the sea, and there's 10 people here, let's go home.
Well,
it's not a bad thing.
No, and I feel like it's gotten worse since I've gotten older, I guess.
Because you have kids now, and you're that protective mama bear a lot of the times.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, I'm like, throw them out there and let's see what happens. They have to learn to work amongst a lot of people. But all in all, it was a fun time, and I can't wait for next year. So thanks for watching another video with us. And if you haven't done so, please check out your local comic book shops and your local comic book conventions. Because like I said earlier, I want to explore some other conventions around the country this next year or two, especially now that I'm getting into a different form of comic book collecting. But I'm always going to go to the hometown show. Although it was a little bit different. The original founder is no longer like truly involved, other than he's like a fan at this point. So I definitely felt a difference in the show compared to the last few years. But a lot of the original staff are still there, which is cool. I ran into a lot of them and talked to them today as I was walking around. All right, guys. Well, thanks for tuning in. I hope this was somewhat fun. Sorry for the hodgepodge of video clips and everything else, but we were there as fans first and recording second. Although I did run into one of my fellow vloggers there, sort of. I saw him as we were walking out and I had to text him. He texted back late. He's like, "Are you doing footage?" I'm like, "No, are you doing footage?" I haven't heard back yet. But I wish I would have saw him. It would have been our first collab with our friends over at Life on Video. All right, guys. Well, thanks for tuning in. Let's take another ride again soon. Hopefully in the next few weeks, you'll see our moving videos, but more importantly, Disneyland. I can't wait. Other than that, bye-bye.